All right, it looks like it's 5 o'clock. Michelle, you good to go? Cool. All right, I'll open the meeting up. And at this time, we'll open the public hearing for the 2025 town budget and warrant articles. What do you want to do first?
Well,
Do we have anybody here to speak on the budget?
I guess if you want to start, we do have some changes to the budget.
Okay, yep.
And the second session,
All right.
so we can start there if you like.
Right, that makes sense to me.
All right.
And actually, before we do that, just a heads up to the other select board members, we will be adjourning into executive session at the end. So, just a heads up.
Okay, we'll start, I guess, I'll start with the second session. And we have to make some changes to that. So we're gonna have to have a second public hearing because we're making changes to that.
Correct.
So the first change is we are gonna move article, what is number 15 right now, which is the solar panels for the municipal complex. And that will be the new number 7.
All right.
That has to go ahead. It's a bond over $100,000, so that's going to have to go before the budget.
Okay.
And that's a bond, and it's going to be we feel it's probably going to have to say 3/5 vote on it instead of majority, and it will most likely be by ballot.
Yep.
So that's gonna change, and the wording of it is going to change. They would like $210,000 now.
Instead of 180?
Instead of 180. And that does not include the battery storage. And I think Tom is gonna be here at some point tonight. I thought he was gonna be here to talk about this.
So he'll be able to tell why the cost.
He will, he's getting all the information ready. I'm not sure, thought he was coming tonight, but I'm not sure if he's gonna make it or not.
So you also said that it's changing to, from majority vote to 2/3 ballot required?
It'll be 3/5.
3/5.
Yeah. Yep. So that's the first change.
Okay, and I guess in his absence, we have another $40,000 added to this. I certainly a little hesitant about
Is it still recommended? Yeah, really.
Well, and I guess my question was gonna be about the battery storage, because I thought that was going to reduce our peak demand charges, which was gonna further reduce our costs up there. So I'm just curious why the batteries, in one of his emails, he said the cost of the panels was going to be like, $130,000, and the rest was gonna be batteries. And now it's 210 and
No battery.
no batteries. So I'm just kind of curious what happened.
Yeah, I really think he needs to be here and explain all this.
Yeah.
If he doesn't make it tonight, where do we get that information and then get to decide on that next public meeting?
Well, we hope we have it before the next public hearing, so
Yeah.
we can have some input on it. And
Okay.
you guys decide whether you're gonna support it or not. It's not a petition warrant article, so at the next public hearing, you could remove it before the next public hearing if you chose.
Yeah, I would think we need a lot more information about that one, but.
Yeah, I agree.
The next change would be, what is now Article, 7, which is the budget, is going to be amended. We've got some final numbers from the disability and life insurance. So if you go to your budget spreadsheets.
Yep.
I will,
The budget spreadsheet, yes.
yep. On page 1 of 13, at the bottom of the executive session, it says disability insurance.
Yep.
And we have a life insurance that goes along with that. So instead of $2,410, it's gonna be $2,260.
2260, right?
Yep. On page 3 of 13, at the top, it says disability insurance, and that's gonna be disability insurance / life insurance.
Yep.
And instead of $803, it's gonna be $1,011, so 1011.
Yep. Got it.
On page, let's see, 6 of 13, in the top section, you'll see police disability insurance. So it's now gonna say police disability / life. And instead of
But I'm sorry, Ken,
$2,489,
you're on page 6?
pardon me,
Page 6?
page 6 of 13. Is that
I see investigation.
Top.
Oh, I see it, police disability, sorry.
line
Continue, sorry.
4210.17?
We're there.
So instead of $3,213, it's going to be $4,099. And on page 8 of 13, where it says highway disability life, disability insurance, we're gonna add another / life. That's line 4311.12. And instead of $3,213, it's going to be $3,980.
Yep.
And on page 10 of 13, at the very bottom, where it says disability insurance.
Yep.
Instead of $2,410, it's gonna be $2,544. Right? So those are those changes. We have another change on, where is it? If you go to page 5 of 13, and you look at the middle of the page where it says 4-1, the building inspection line, 4240.
That's page 5? Oh, 4240. Okay, yeah.
So there is going to be, let me get there first, hang on a second. I didn't get a chance to print that out.
That's right, we're waiting on you.
No pressure.
It is going to be, there's going to be a new category, 4152. And it's going to be titled Revaluation of Utilities. And the amount is going to be $6,500.
Explain, please.
Pardon me?
Revaluation of utilities?
Revaluation of utilities.
Okay.
And this is, because Eversource has, improved their whole transmission
Okay.
lines. We, DRA recommends that we have a certified utility, revaluation expert do that. And they currently pay the town about $130,000 in taxes, property taxes. And Mandy is absolutely convinced that we will get that $6,500 back and then some.
That's for because they upgraded all the,
They upgraded all the transmission lines. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And let's see. On page, one more, page 5 of 13, the police chief salary, we have listed at 84,000. It should actually be 85,000. That was a mistake on my part. So you should have. Let's see, did I give you a copy of the budget?
Yeah. Just like this.
That's okay, I got it, I got mine, I thought I had one that I had marked up and put all over. Oh, yes. So you should have, at the bottom, for grand total now, will be 3 million under the operating. Subtotal, all department expenses.
Yeah.
It will be $3,485,250, which is a increase of $161 or $161,798.
What page are you on
The page 12 of 13 at the bottom,
there?
the
Okay,
grand total for the subtotal all department expenses
yeah, okay.
will be 3,485,250 for a budget increase of 161,798, which is 4.9%. And the big, obviously the big one was the $6,500 for the reval of utilities, and we will get that back in taxes and more, so hopefully that will, obviously it's an increase in the operating line, but instead of trying to make that a warrant article for $6,000 or $6,500, we felt that we put it in the operating expense.
So out of curiosity, if we took that out, what percentage would that be?
If we took that out,
If it wasn't 4.9, it's 4.9 now with it in, if we take it out, does that, is there a way to easily calculate that?
hold on a second, let me see. If we took that out, it would be 4.7%.
Okay, thank you.
So obviously that is what was the number 7, second session article.
Yeah.
Which, and it is going to be now the new number 8. So that is what the
Yeah.
That would be. So moving down to the second session warrant articles. We would amend the Article 16, which is the Household Hazardous Waste Day, and make it $10,500. Rich reminded me that it was, the cost was $10,600, but there's grant money available, and it'll get us like $10,299. So I figured we'd put $10,500 in there in case something changed.
Yeah.
And then the last would be to add a new article to study the transfer station. I think I sent you the new language. Let me get it out for you.
So that would be Article 19?
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So the language would read, are you in favor to initiate a feasibility and suitability study for the town of Canterbury transfer station to renovate, expand the transfer station at the current site and determine if the current site is not suitable for this purpose, and to expend up to $6,500 for this purpose to be withdrawn from the existing capital reserve account transfer station upgrade. Capital language right there.
Is that, you've emailed us that?
I did, I think I
Okay.
emailed that to you.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that would be really no cost. We wouldn't have to.
That would not be a tax impact because we have
Yeah.
almost 7,000 in the capital reserve account. And we will print the tax impacts, all these warrant articles on them for the final.
Yeah.
Over
that's
here.
a great idea.
Oh, great.
Cal had sent out an email earlier in January with the tax impacts.
Yep.
But we'll redo that and make sure all of them are updated.
Yep.
So that'll all go out when the town reports are printed, it'll be right in there as well.
It will be in the town report, correct.
Good.
And I know Rich is here with the solid waste committee, if you had any questions about that. Or if anybody from the audience did.
We're hoping that it will be recommended by the selectmen, that new article. Last word that I got was you wanted clarification for scope and purpose.
Yep.
And we have done that. I emailed Ken what we want it for, engineering. We got 2 quotes. We contacted 3 firms. One firm doesn't want to do business with Canterbury anymore. Bad history.
Okay.
So we got another firm out of Maine. They have a Northwood office, and Aries Engineering, who are currently doing the water study.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the low bid anyways. Gonna be roughly $5,000. And so we get scope and purpose. They get Ken has the quotes. That's what.
Is it the same scope and purpose that you sent us? or-
That is what I sent you guys from Rich. I had a conversation with George Holt, so we talked about it, and he may be revising that scope a little bit to include a few other things. He didn't see the cost increasing, but he was gonna send us something back.
And before that happens, well, this gets that money so that we can move forward. Next step would be to contact George or that company where there would be a sit down either with, I'm not sure if it'd be the whole committee or representatives of the committee along with the select board to finalize the contract or
Yeah.
the payment or costs.
Yeah. My opinion only is that the entire solid waste committee, I think there's too many people for a meeting like that. I would suggest just the chair and the board of selectmen.
Okay.
But that's just my opinion.
And George, of course, and then we would have all the scope that we'll be discussing before that.
We'll have everything together for us, yeah.
Yeah, he's already done up a proposal, and I think you've already had a conversation, so it looks like that proposal will be expanding to whatever you guys discussed at, and to include what we're looking for. And, yeah, that could be a contract.
Great.
Will you guys be moving on that? Is it gonna be, it's a new article?
Yep.
Will it be recommended by selectmen or?
We got you consider that to be a final version, what we got?
So the article as worded now, does not have any costs associated with it, other than the $6,500.
Right.
So I think the scope is, that's dependent on negotiations between the town and whoever you hire as an engineering firm, to stay within that budget.
Yeah.
That would be the details that could be worked out. The warrant article could pass, and you could potentially find an engineer that says, or engineers that say, no, we can't do it for that cost, and then you wouldn't do it. But
Right.
you could find one that says, yeah, we can do it, and we already have some estimates that seem promising. So I think it would be one of those things where you, in my thought, you would probably support the warrant article at this point, unless some kind of information comes in between now and the next public hearing.
Yeah.
And the selectmen's in the town meeting.
Because it's worded such as a feasibility study and scope basically to be determined of what it means to do
Well,
things at the site.
The feasibility study is spelled out.
Yeah.
The scope isn't detailed yet.
Right, but we can
So-
do that
Again,
with.
it would be,
Contract.
you could say to the engineer, we're gonna negotiate what the scope is based on our budget and do it that way.
Yeah.
So,
Ken, what do you think?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so what do we need,
so we'll just make sure that all gets, the new second session gets printed up,
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah.
And then at the next public hearing, you will read every single article.
Right.
And you as the board will vote on it then
Okay.
and take input from the public
Yeah.
to see if it changes.
Okay.
So,
When's this next hearing?
the 18th of February, which is a Tuesday night. The 17th is a holiday, federal holiday.
Yeah.
So it'll be Tuesday night, the 18th, here at the meeting house.
Just checking my
5 or 6?
calendar.
Yeah.
5 p.m.
5, yeah.
Yep.
So what is if I may interrupt, what is the inclination of the board? Will it be supported or?
Ken, you
Yes.
indicated support, I certainly would support it, Rich. Yeah, so,
Yes,
So I
if
think-
it gives us the ability to, it's a feasibility study, we've got money for it, and we can define the scope when we meet with Aries and negotiate that, that's good by me.
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, what are you thinking?
So I guess Tom isn't here. I don't know if he was coming or not. there's no reason to close the public hearing yet.
Right.
You can wait until the very last part of the
Let's,
meeting
yeah.
to close it. So you can just leave it open for now.
Yep.
And then, move on to other business,
Sounds good.
and then close the hearing at whatever you decide.
Sounds good to me. Chief Reptel, you're here just to answer questions, I assume. Thank you, it's good to see you.
Pleasure as always.
Appreciate your coming.
Alright,
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Because you're finishing up on the budget.
Yes.
Yeah. How are we going to treat this increase in fuel cost of 25%?
That's a really good question. I don't know if anybody has a good answer except that I think it's gonna go up. I don't think,
I certainly can, I guess what I would think is that between now and town meeting, I'll reach out to our suppliers to see, that will hopefully give us enough time to determine what the potential cost increase is gonna be. We might have it before the next public hearing, but I don't know. But we can amend the budget at the town meeting up if we need to take care of that. We can change a line in the budget if we want to. And so that, I would recommend that we wait either at least until the next public hearing or maybe till the town meeting to determine what the fuel companies are telling us, and then amend the budget as needed then.
What do you, just a rough shot, what is our total for gas and oil for the heating of the buildings plus all the vehicles?
Well, they're listed separately, so
Yeah, no, I see.
you'd have to go through and, I mean, if we added 25% to each one, if that's what they're talking about, a 25% increase, then we'd have to look at it and determine what we're gonna do.
Right.
We did change some of the fuel costs from last year based on usage, but we changed them down. We have to go back up.
of course.
So, but I guess that would be my recommendation
Sure.
I'll be reaching out to the providers here in the next week or so and trying to get some kind of concrete information from them to see.
And there could be some real ramifications shortly when everybody sees their oil bill go up.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know, and we should have an answer, even if it's a guesstimate of what it very likely could
Oh,
be.
yeah, and again, I'm hoping that they can tell us, yeah, we're looking at a 10, 15, 20% increase over the next year, and we will make those changes.
And Irving Oil told me 25% tomorrow,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
but they're Canadian.
We are locked in,
I didn't know that.
to our propane budget. We're locked in with a price for a year. I'm not sure about our heating oil budget. We're not locked in with gas or diesel, but I have to check with our heating oil. I can't remember. But we are locked in with
I mean, we're
propane.
locked in for the price that we pay for propane, but not the others.
We are. The
I wonder-
propane is the biggest heating expense right now.
You get propane through, or where do we get our propane?
Eastern.
Oh, Eastern.
They might rank that with a act of God type thing in the fine print.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to read the contract. We buy it with the school district, so that's, we'd have to look at the contractor now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, let's see.
You can always burn the trash and keep them
I
on.
need those bigger margins. Could you make these with bigger margins, please, so I have more room to work?
For town buildings, heat, oil, and propane, we budgeted $30,000 last year. We spent $29,050, so we budgeted $30,000 again this year.
Okay.
So,
so 7,500 would be 25%.
And that's
Well, I guess-
for all the buildings?
that's for all the buildings, that's the town buildings, heat, oil, and propane. And again, if we're locked in with propane, which is the biggest expense, then you know, that line wouldn't necessarily go up 25%, but it would go up.
Okay.
So
And
So
I'm
we're
sorry,
talking-
Ken, you said 30,000 last year?
30,000 last year, we spent 2950.
Yeah.
And we budgeted 30 again this year.
Might wanna put some waste oil furnaces in.
I wanna put some more, heat pumps in, is what I'm thinking, that much money. At least take the town hall off there.
All right. What do you think, you want to sign?
Thank you. Was that the only changes to the warrants? We don't have anything else in here?
That's all I have, unless somebody else has something different.
No?
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Ty.
Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks, Tyson.
Good night,
All
Rich.
right,
Thank you.
thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, Ken, what do you sign?
Yep.
Do some signing.
As well.
Yep. All right, first item is an accounts payable manifest in the amount of $545,000.
So moved.
Sorry, I got stuck. $545,063.12.
So moved.
Because there was a school payment in there.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping you'd say that. All those in favor?
Aye. It's always good to tell us that before we have a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll hand those directly back to you.
Yep.
If you want.
Which one does Al need the photo of?
This is the one I gotta take a picture of.
Yeah, for Al. All right, while he's doing that, payroll manifest in the amount of $54,907.61.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, next is a training agreement between the town of Canterbury and our new highway department employee Jesse Johansson for training for his commercial driver license. I'll let you read the details, but it includes a provision to pay the town back. And also, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, includes a bonus upon completion? I
Correct.
remember, yeah.
Correct.
Is this the same agreement that Robert Ralph signed?
Correct.
And do we need a motion on this, or we just sign?
No, you can just sign it.
Great, two people took us up on that, that's good. And you said this is the place that's now, it's on like Old Turnpike Road, I went by there the other day and saw them.
Yep.
Training. Good,
Yeah, which is nice to have it much closer than.
yeah, really.
Thank you. All right, and there's that.
Do you have that folder?
Yes, I certainly do. Yeah, please. All right, that brings us to previous minutes approval from our January 20th, 25 meeting.
Yes. Might I please have half a moment to just read the last page?
You can have a full moment.
I'm sorry, I did not read this before.
Nope, no worries. Happens to all of us.
Okay, done with everybody else. Everybody else's.
Any changes for
I
Ryan?
do not.
Okay, I'll look for a motion then.
Motion to accept the minutes as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye?
Aye. That's a first.
Mhm.
Yay.
Alright. That's that. Alright, fee schedule update.
Yes, the fee schedule, this is for the planning board.
Yeah.
Currently, it's $10 for the abutters fees. Jan suggests going up to $11 because the certified mail costs, at this current time, $9.64 for certified mail to go out. So that's cutting it kind of close to the $10 range.
Yeah.
And who knows what the postal prices are gonna do the next year, so
Yeah.
she recommends going up to $11.
Okay, would that be effective,
It would probably be, we'd have to do effective probably February, March 1st.
Yeah.
We'll do March 1st.
And so what's the current cost for certified mail, you said?
The current cost for certified mail is $9.64
Yeah.
for a butters notice.
so a $1 increase is what she's
Yeah.
suggesting. Discussion?
Sounds,
Yeah.
it seems like we should probably go up to 12 the way the postal service is going, or
Yeah,
hire
Well,
somebody
we
to
can
walk
always-
over and hand them out. Jeez,
Yeah. Do we need a motion on that, Ken?
no,
Yeah, I think
Unless
everybody
there's-
here's an agreement.
unless everybody doesn't,
Yeah.
And you thought it might be effective as of March 1st?
March 1st.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to town property, request for lot line adjustment.
Before we get into that,
Yeah.
I have one more.
Sure.
We have a candidate for a standby secretary position. We've been advertising on the town newsletter and town email to see if we could find somebody to help us out if our secretaries were unavailable. And we do have a candidate. Her name is Cheryl Andrew. She was on Shaker Road. Cal and I talked to her last week. We both feel she's a really good candidate. I don't know, she was thinking she was gonna try and zoom in tonight,
I
but
don't see anybody.
I don't know, but anyway, so we'd like to move forward. I don't, this is a standby. She's gonna try to attend some meetings,
Good.
meet the other secretaries,
Yeah.
and work with them and get some on-the-job training, so to speak.
Great.
Any discussion on that?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Good.
And do the standby secretaries get the same per hour
Correct.
wages?
Yeah.
On Sugar Road. All right, and you and Cal both met with them.
Yep.
Great.
Okay. And so, town property, request for a lot line adjustment. In your packet, there is some information from Mr. Booth. David Booth who owns property behind the municipal building. Let's see. Is there another red folder there that?
In front of your computer.
Oh, yeah, right in front of your. Thank you.
Thank you. Ever you
Good catch.
prove your worth.
Alright, I'm done. Have a great day.
Nice, have a good one. So, Mr. Booth contacted us a while ago. He owns the property up there behind the municipal building, and he would like to get access to that. He does not have, as it stands now, he doesn't feel he has access to it. So we our assessor went through and researched a whole bunch of things, deeds and plans and everything, and sent it off to him, Mr. Booth. Mr. Booth had his lawyer do some research, and what we found was that in that cover letter, it shows kind of a timeline of the properties up there. So in 1951, the land that's now owned by the town was sold by the Rules, Elmer and Leona, to the Huggins, and created a right-of-way to the land that Rules owned, which is now owned by the Booths, that one of the back properties. In 1952, Huggins sold the land now owned by the town to the Robinsons, and the right-of-way is reserved in the deed. In 2003, Robinson sold to the town, subject, and it says right on the deed and the plan, subject to right-of-way. In 1972, Rule sold the land now owned by Booth to Hurdle. Again in 1972, Hurdle sold to Johnston. And in 86, Johnston sold to Lois Booth. In all of this, and like I said, the right-of-way is mentioned in the deeds and in the plans that Mark Stevens, who's a surveyor, did surveying for the municipal complex, and it mentions in the plans, in the locus plans, as well as in the deeds, that there is a right-of-way. However, there was a meeting, and in the meeting of Selectmen's meeting, July 7th, 2003, members of the Canterbury Building Needs Committee, members Kent Russell, Gordon Jackson, land surveyor Mark Stevens attended the meeting, discussed proposed subdivision for the municipal building. Mark pointed out there may be a right-of-way crossing the proposed site in the municipal building. Mark explained the options the Board of Selectmen had to extinguish this right-of-way. So that's from that meeting. And then in November 12th of 2003, the minutes of the planning board, the Building Needs Committee did a presentation to the planning board, and there's a couple highlighted. If you go to the second page, there's some highlighted sections. At the top, Ken Stern referred to the Woods Road to the east. Kent indicated Dave Booth owns that small sliver of land that's being used as a sawmill trail. It's not wide enough for a right-of-way to the backland. And down further, the chair opened meetings and questions and concerns from the public members in attendance. David Booth was in attendance. He had some questions. And then on page 3, halfway down, if you look above the highlighted paragraph, the chair encouraged David to speak with someone who's familiar with laws and land use. They could look through what the town requires for frontage for use of the property. And then Brian, who's identified as Brian Kilmaine, asked how much land was back there, was landlocked. David replies that he owns 63 acres. He talked about being able to put houses in there, but he has no specific plans for it right now. And then Kent commented the committee is not interested in pursuing this avenue. The members discussed the right-of-way the other day, and they don't have any right to say they're willing to swap land. And then Mark Stevens added that the right-of-way was never deeded to the Booths. We have the attorney's opinion. We went through everything, and it looks like there was a quick claim deed that was drafted and signed by Leona her name was Liberty at that time, rule in 2003 that gave up all rights to that right of way as a prior owner. However, when the rules sold the land to Huggins, the deed says that they give up all rights and interests. So she did not have the power to give up that right of way. And it is mentioned in the deeds and the plans moving forward. And the way case law reads is that if you have a piece of property and it has a right of way through it to a piece of backland, unless both property owners agree to discontinuing that right of way cannot be discontinued. So, at this point, Mr. Booth would like access to his property. He has that small, I guess it's called a right of way, to the east of the town municipal building.
That snowmobile trail. that's
Snowmobile
more-
trail.
Yeah,
There's a stone wall on either side of it. It's not 50 feet wide.
Yeah.
He would like to see the town do a lot line adjustment and move the eastern boundary of the municipal complex to the west to give him a 50-foot right of way.
This would be from Mordowski's, or
Correct. Correct.
he doesn't own, or he doesn't, that fence stops at the back of Mordowski's property.
Correct.
I believe it turns.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So it would be, I'd have to measure it and see how far, but it wouldn't be the full length.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we would have to have it surveyed. We would have to go to the town, the planning board for lot line adjustment, and it is in the Historic District Commission. So they would have to be brought in on this also.
and that stone wall would have to be removed, or at least part of it,
Well, it would either be moved or
moved or
Removed.
removed.
correct. Mr. Booth did say that if we did move that lot line, he would give us land on the back of the, municipal building to, would remain our acreage. I don't see that we'd be losing a lot of land. I don't know if there'd be an advantage. There's a stone wall back there. You'd have to move pins back there. I think that would add to the cost. I'm not sure that that would be a big advantage to the town of gaining 20 or 30 feet in the back for a short distance.
That's all just, if you walk in the trail that goes, off of Hackleboro along the side of the Comey's house and go back and then come out
Correct,
behind the municipal center, that's just all
correct.
roots and rocks.
The Snowmobile Trail goes along that eastern border with the town, and then bears to the west, does a 90-degree turn to the
Yeah.
west, and then comes down about 3/4 of the way to the municipal, behind the municipal building, and then turns directly to the north,
Yes,
and then goes down over the hill into there's a swampy area down
Yeah.
there.
yeah. What does the snowmobile, what do the snow shakers have as right of way? Just an agreement with whom?
They would have an agreement with Mr. Booth, because he owns all that property.
And so on this
That
cover,
Snowmobile Trail hasn't been active for many years,
no, I've walked it a lot, but
Yeah.
it hasn't been maintained.
the portions that, when it gets down behind there, it turns back east again and parallel Baptist Road, crossed over Abbott and Foster and
Yeah.
Baptist Hill, that came out up behind Aberton Road.
Mhm.
But there has been a couple houses built, I think on Foster Road. So I don't know if it still goes there, but I know they haven't done anything with that for several years.
Well, you can barely walk from Baptist Road down the side of the municipal center.
Right.
I did that this summer, you
Yeah.
can't. But on this cover letter, Ken, where it says 1972 rules, so sold land now owned Booth to Hurdle, and those last 3 points. So at that point, the right of way is still apparently in effect? of these last
Yeah, the right of way was in effect
throughout?
all the way up, all until today.
Okay.
It was never discontinued legally by both property owners.
Okay.
Again, the owner, the Liberty at the time, who was the owner rule, there was a quitclaim deed drafted in 2003, and she signed off her rights to it, but she actually did not have the legal right to do that.
Yeah, because she had sold the land in 1972.
To Huggins. Yeah. And the deed says all rights and interests, which means the right of way. The deed is not, the right of way is not mentioned in the Booth's deeds, but that does not nullify it, because it is mentioned in the deeds that went from the rules to the Hurdles to the Johnsons to the Robinsons.
And this is, Mr. Booth's attorney's opinion on this. Has our town council weighed in on this yet?
We have not contacted our council. We had a meeting with Mr. Booth last week. The assessor and land use administrator, myself, met with Mr. Booth, Mr. and Mrs. Booth, and we felt that it was probably better to try and meet without our attorneys present, just to try and work through this without incurring further costs.
Thank you. But is there a cost associated with all of this?
There will be a
Maneuvering.
cost, yes, well, because we have to have it surveyed, the lot line adjusted, and then go to the planning board and the HDC. So they would, and notify the abutters and all that, so there will be associated costs.
Any amount, any idea?
I don't know, and we have to hire a surveyor. The notification of abutters could be absorbed by the town, but the surveyor, we haven't budgeted for anything like this, so I'm not sure where we get the money.
And I guess, Ken, what, sort of in agreement with that, this might be something to run past our attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I figured we'd talk about it first and
Yeah,
see what you guys want to do.
yeah.
It might be a very short conversation with our attorney if they've got,
It may be.
Yeah.
I can send them all the information we have and, send them what's going on.
I think that's,
All right?
is there a time frame on this at all?
In our conversation with Mr. Booth, it didn't sound like he was trying to push this through in a very quick manner. This has been going on for several months. Our communications with him started, I want to say, back in October. And he's, from my opinion, he's being cooperative. He's not being adversarial in this at all. So I think, we can say, look, we talked about Selectmen's meeting, we're gonna run it by our town council, and I'm sure he'll be worried about that.
yep, I'm sure, right, he'll understand.
He's not looking to have us cover any of his legal costs, though, correct?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay.
He didn't say anything about it.
Okay,
I don't
good.
know.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any further comments on this? All right.
Okay, so
Leave
no,
it
I
for
wanna read through
tonight
all
then?
this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
What do we need to say, though, about what next on this? We're just going to,
I'm gonna send it off to send all the information off to our attorney, and I will come back with you guys with an opinion, and decide on how you guys will move forward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
thank you.
thinking since Tom is here, that we revisit the warrant article.
Sure.
Tom, why don't you come on down, please? So Tom, our understanding is there's been an increase in the amount of the proposed warrant article, right?
Yeah, the committee approved and wanted to ask you guys to make the value 210 instead of 180.
And why would that be?
I think it was more to include, basically, we have a new member, Fred, and Beth and him piped up and said that the 180 is probably not enough to do what we were trying to do.
Okay.
So I went back and recalculated all my numbers for the bond with 210.
Yeah, but I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little nervous about how they arrived at 210.
I think, I can't say.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't
the problem I have is someone's feeling that 180 is not enough is just not good enough for me at least.
Okay, so I don't know where they arrived at the numbers, but we went and got quotes. I don't have the fourth one yet, but the three that I have range from 146 to 215.
Right.
So that's the range we're in. So if we do the warrant for less than that, one was at 200, one's at 146, and the other one's at 215, I think, or 210. So it's right around 210 would include those three, and I don't have the fourth one yet. And again, these are all estimates.
Right.
So if we want to go out for bid and make sure we had the right number on the warrant.
Yeah.
It's short time to try and pull all this together, is I think part of the problem.
I agree. I mean, we're in a year where we're doing our best to keep a hold on our budget.
Right.
This is an enormous number.
Right.
It makes me nervous when as I told you at the last meeting, you're gonna need to stand up in front of the town and explain in great detail
Yeah.
how this is gonna pay for itself. And I'm just not sure that we can do that.
I'm positive I can do it. I haven't quite figured out how to make it simple because there's no way to project slides up there.
I think what people are gonna see is a $210,000 warrant article.
With no tax impact.
No tax impact?
That is what Tom is saying. I guess my question is, and I'm not exactly clear on how Unitil bills the town. We get separate bills for each
building. Right.
If we're producing more energy up there than we're using, we get credits for it. How does that go from one account to another? Does Unitil allow that to happen?
Yes, they have what's called group net metering.
Okay.
So what will end up happening is all the meters will come off the buildings and they'll put back on meters. So the one that's at the municipal building, that meter will come off, it'll get put back on. That will be the only building with a net meter. And so the other buildings will be in the group. At the end of the month, all the energy that was generated and net metered on that building will be credited to the other.
All the other accounts.
That's right.
That makes sense. I don't know how that works. I was just asking the question. I know you would explain that in the email, but I thought for tonight's meeting, we should try and get that out there. I guess my other question is, the other change, the proposed change was to delete the information, the language about batteries.
Yes.
So I guess my question is, when you talked about this before, you said the batteries would help offset the peak demand charges. So where getting rid of the batteries, how is that gonna affect the peak demand charge?
I think, well, there's two answers to that. One is during the day, if there's any demand charges. But the demand charges get calculated at the end of the month. So it's hard to say how the panels are going to offset demand charges. So I didn't do any calculations with offsetting demand charges. The batteries, I believe, would help, but the group felt that we didn't have enough time to investigate batteries and how they would help, so we just struck it off and said, for this project, we may put equipment in that allows future implementation of batteries, but for this project, we're not gonna have it.
If my recollection is correct, one of the emails that you sent thought that the project, the panels themselves would cost would be $140 or something like that, and the batteries would be the rest.
That's because that's the one bid I had at that time.
Oh, okay.
Since then, I've gotten 2 other estimates.
Okay, just making sure that I
Yeah.
have, I've been seeing a lot of emails and
Now,
I'm like, you know,
data is
okay.
still coming in.
I'm trying to keep track of all this for our budgeting, so.
And I
that's-
did go back to the 146 bidder or estimator, and he said, I'm holding that number. He says, actually, you're getting higher capacity panels for the same price because they've gone up since last July.
So if 146 is still a good bid and we're getting a good deal, why would we want to have the amount changed to include the highest bid that you've got?
I don't understand the bidding process, but I know that having one bid is probably not a great idea. So I would just put out an RFQ for quotes and detail what we know that we want. And when the bids come back, you know, some of the vendors are asking me, are you making a decision on price alone? And I said, I don't know what the Board of Selectmen make their decisions on, so I can't really answer that.
Well, I guess I'm confused though, because you say you have 3 quotes and a 4th one to come in, so you actually have,
They're not quotes, they're estimates.
they're just estimates, okay. So even the 146 one could be very different by the time they have all the information.
I don't think it'll be very different, but if we wait another year, it'll probably be different.
And we're gonna need to change the wording of the warrant article, right?
Right.
It says batteries.
Get rid of batteries. And the 3 things we voted for at our meeting was no batteries, 210 would be the value, and the wording of no tax impact to the town.
I guess that's where I'm really nervous. I guess if I was a resident, I would want you to prove to me that there's gonna be no tax impact.
Okay, so it's not like buying a grader. We're buying something that generates money for the town.
Okay.
So we have an electric budget that we set anyway. If we were doing no solar, we would budget $22,000 for all these buildings. What the solar panels will do from day one is generate $12,000 to $14,000 a year worth of electricity. So if you deduct that from the 22,000, you're left with whatever, 10,000 or whatever. It's all within that budget. You're not spending any more than you would have if you didn't have solar panels. And we're taking the money that is in the budget to pay for the bond, but the solar panels are making up that difference. They're making up the payments. So at the end of the year, it's a wash. The solar panels have generated the difference between what electricity we actually paid for and the amount that the solar panels generated.
So I guess my question would be, our operating expense right now has budgets for electricity for
Yes.
the municipal buildings, the town-owned buildings.
Right.
Should we then cut those budgets at this point?
No,
So if we're not cutting those budgets for 2025,
Right.
yeah, we're adding $210,000 to the total overall budget.
it's not
How
the
is there-
budget though,
Well, it'll be a warrant article,
it'll be a warrant article.
which is at the bottom line.
Right,
And that's how DRA figures our taxes, or we figure our taxes, and DRA approves it, based on our operating budget and the warrant articles, all expenses.
right, but
So.
how do they take into account how the bonds get paid? Some of the warrant articles
Yeah,
are
it would be
paid out
the-
of the
It
budget.
would be the cost of the bond, so it wouldn't be the cost of the total 210,000, it would be the cost of the bond.
Right,
But again, so do we reduce it by the cost of the bond for 2025 year, 2025?
no, because the 22,000 for electric, say half of it goes to pay the bond.
Yep.
Half of it goes to pay electricity. That's how it would work. In subsequent years, like if you're in year two
I
or
understand
three,
subsequent years,
you
I'm just
start
thinking about the
reducing
first
budget.
year.
Yes,
I'm just thinking about the first year.
right,
If we've already budgeted, whatever, $20,000 for electricity for the municipal buildings, and we add another 25,000 for the bond, how is that not a tax impact?
well, you're not adding 25,000 for the bond. The payments would be 13,000 a year
On a $210,000 bond
for 20
for
years.
20 years,
Yeah,
13,000?
14,000? At 4%?
Well, okay, I'd have to do the math.
That's what I did.
You did, okay, all right,
Came up to a payment of $12.72 a month.
okay, all right, okay.
But I,
No,
I would
I'm
like
not
someone
doubting
to
your
check
math.
my math.
I'm not doubting your math.
Is there a way, that we can see all these calculations that you just described to us so admirably written down, so that we can look at them and I can consider them when I'm not trying to think at the same time as
Yeah, I
listening?
have a spreadsheet. I can show it to you, I can print it out and give it to you. You
That
want me
would
to
be-
show the spreadsheet?
That would be great, I mean, if you can even email it to us, because I don't,
Why don't you do that, Tom?
Show
that
it.
would
Why
be
don't you email
great.
it?
Or
If
email.
you can email it, that would be great, because it's difficult for me personally to
Yeah.
understand the machinations of the numbers.
Even
Just
if you
by
look at the
listening.
spreadsheet, I may have to explain the columns.
Yeah.
And Tom, I cannot support an increase of from 180 to 210 based on the feelings of two committee members.
Well, it's not the feelings, it's that the other two estimates came in that high. The only reason I was bumping it up was because if we go out for quote, real quotes, we know now that some of them are gonna be that high. So if you're making your decision based on, say 5 or 6 things rather than just the lowest cost
Right.
bidder.
But you're asking us to borrow an extra $30,000 that we're gonna have to pay interest on.
That's right.
We should know by the time this happens, what the actual number's gonna be.
I was just saying, that the
Yeah,
bond sale isn't until July.
Right.
So we could change the language to say up to 210,000.
And then lower it in July.
And then depending on what the cost is
Right.
of the estimates, the real quotes, you could determine, and the work. Because if you have the town doesn't have any bylaws or policy, procedure, or anything for having to take the lowest bid. That's the Board of Selectmen determines, the best vendor. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the lowest bid.
Right.
It could be, but it doesn't have to be. So the selectmen would look at the quotes and work with the experts to determine which is the best for the town.
Right.
And that would be the selectmen working, my guess is, with the committee power and determine which is the best quote for the town.
Right.
And then you could say, you know, again, if 200, if you think 210 is the top number, then that might be something to go for.
I mean, I would like it to be less. I'm trying to understand why there's such a big delta between the bids. And I've been asking a lot of questions.
And that would be, to me, that would be something you probably want to be able to explain at town meeting.
Yeah.
Because we're in a public meeting right now, the minutes are gonna be out, so people are gonna know that there's estimates from 146,210, and somebody's gonna ask the question at town meeting, well, why can't we just take the lowest bid? And you guys are gonna have to explain that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's okay.
Town
I
meetings
just went with the
town meetings
highest-
can get very detail oriented.
I went with the highest number. I went with conservative numbers.
Yep.
Because I know everything is gonna change a little bit.
Sure.
And I still think we're within the boundaries of being able to pay a bond with the amount of money generated by the panels.
For the fire truck, we had 3 different bidders on it, and our warrant article, fortunately, we were able to get good quotes before the warrant article went out. And the fire chief did not recommend the lowest bid.
Right.
He recommended, I think, the middle bid, and the selectmen backed him up on that, so.
I mean, I feel better about it if it's worded to say up to 210.
Yeah.
Knowing, of course, that all concerned want it to be a responsible number, that's not just the highest.
I think that's good.
I'd also feel better being able to look and to think and contemplate thoughtfully all the numbers that you just gave us. It still seems like it's a good thing for the town, and if it works out money-wise as you've described, even with the increase, I still think it's good. I only hesitate because I want to be able to sit for a minute with the numbers and really think about them. But, when, at the end of the day, the town could still say, no, if, after the vote.
I mean, over 25 years, the town is going to save. Instead of the electric budget going from 22 to 46,000 a year, it's gonna go 22 to maybe, I think it ends up at 28,000. I mean, at the end, your bond is paid off and your budget has actually dropped.
Well, and quite frankly, again, like myself, if there's something, I know people put flyers on the chairs before meeting.
Yes,
If you come out with an explanation, a chart or whatever to show this in a reasonable light that people can understand while they're sitting at town meeting, I would think that would help.
yeah, I wanna do flyers. Well, I was gonna do flyers for both the library weatherization to show the savings and the solar to show the savings. And it's basically my slides down onto a card that people can read. But I'm looking for better ways to present it too.
Yeah. Well,
I guess my suggestion would be a one-pager
Yeah,
for each one, like bullet pointed or something like that. It's, again, just having been through 40-something town meetings, I think that, the people walk in and they wanna look at something that they can read in 5 minutes and have a
understand.
fairly good
Yeah.
understanding. But again, I mean, that certainly, you'll.
So
you'll have the
I'll
opportunity to
send
explain.
you guys the preliminary ones this week. You can mark them up, tell me
Okay.
it's not good enough.
But there's also no reason why that information that you're going to have at town meeting can't be disseminated before
I
town meeting.
wanna do
So
that.
that people would,
I wanna put it in the newsletter, I
Yeah.
wanna put it in the country store, whatever, I wanna put it everywhere.
And
I gotta get you guys to approve it.
That's a good idea.
by February 16th.
Yeah.
Get your numbers.
Yeah.
No, the,
So we're gonna have to have a second public hearing because we're changing the budget tonight.
Yeah.
And the second session, so we'd have to have a second public hearing to approve those changes
Okay,
before it goes to town meeting.
okay,
So our next public hearing is the 17th, or the 18th.
18th, which
Yeah,
is your
the 18th.
combined joint meeting, isn't it? With, Community Power and Energy Committee?
yeah, but we can move that.
Yeah, certainly, unless you're probably gonna say the same thing, my suggestion is be here for the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yes,
Because I certainly anticipate this will be,
okay, should I have the flyers here too, at that meeting?
Yeah,
you certainly can, my friend, absolutely.
Okay,
I would feel much better about it all with that, because I still believe it's a good idea. The money's hard to swallow, but the money's particularly hard to swallow this year, so.
well, I think the big thing is, we're trying to do this with no tax impact.
Yeah, I think that's a big sell, and if you can explain that easily enough,
Right.
yeah.
Kent, anything from you before?
I just think we wanna try and read myself as to why this, no matter what, is a good deal. And I think anytime we can get off of fossil fuels and get onto electricity, as we're being demonstrated to tonight, it's the right way to go. And it may not be as clear as we can make it tonight, but I think Tom is a thoughtful man. I'm guessing he'll come up with all the
He's
reasons.
wicked smart.
He is.
As they say.
Be sure you spell that right. Smart.
I'm not taking all the credit, the committee has a lot of smart people on it.
But I think, Tom, I've certainly been suggesting since the beginning that we need to clearly explain to people how this is gonna save them money. That's all I've been suggesting.
And that,
This year it's a.
My explanation of, we have a budget anyway for electricity,
Right,
and the bond payments are coming out of that, but the electricity is coming from the panels.
yeah,
That makes up the difference.
it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
and we'll let as many people know beforehand.
Yeah,
And we also have the adder. So at the end of the first year will be the toughest, because we saved the least amount the first year. And so we have the adder to make up any difference, and we can reconcile it at the end of the year and just say, hey, you're still short $2,000. And we take it out of the adder, and then the electric budget and the electricity used and everything all washes.
Also, the adder amount can also be used towards this.
Well, it's an energy project,
Yeah, okay.
right?
It's sitting at what, 4,000 right now?
Yeah, by the time March rolls around, it should be at 7,000.
That's a good thing also to let people know.
Yeah, we're accumulating about 1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So this time next year, we should have 16, 17,000.
Great. Okay. So what do we need to do tonight about this? Just wait for more information and then reword this and revisit it on the 18th?
Yeah, we will change the language for the next public hearing. It'll be posted 10 days ahead. And you guys will have all that, the public will have it, and then we'll have the public hearing and see what happens.
yeah.
Okay.
Tom, please do get us that info by email as
Yes,
soon as you can.
Yeah.
That way we can all have it to look over and we may have some questions for you once we've looked at that.
all right. Yeah, I'll get back to you right away.
Super.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate both your time.
Time and numbers.
Yeah.
Teresa, anything on the budget, if that's what you're here for, or?
I'm here to learn things that I probably don't
Okay.
understand.
All right. What have we got left? Old business, I think we're at now.
Yep, and I don't have any old business other than, well, I guess this is new business. So the timeline for signing up for town officials for the election closed on Friday. I have the list of who signed up. Selectmen for 3 years, one position, Pal and Todd. Town clerk, tax collector, 3 years, one position, Sam Paps. Treasurer, 3 years, one position, Al Edelstein. Moderator, 2 years, one position, Jim Miller. I'll give you this. Planning board, 3 years, 2 positions, Joshua Gordon, Brendan O'Donnell. Cemetery trustees, 3 years, 1 position, Sam Paps. Library trustees, 2 years, 2 positions, Linda Ryndu and Ron Luthier. Library trustees, 3 years, 2 positions, Ray Craigie and Rick Zeller. And trustee of the trust fund, 3 years, 1 position, Tiffany Brown. So there are no contested races at this time.
What do we have for any procedures for write-in? Because a couple of people have already asked me if they missed the deadline, can they?
It's, that does not involve the town.
Okay,
The write-in campaign is run by whoever is usually the candidate or someone that supports the candidate. And that has nothing to do with the town. Their name is not on the ballot. It's, if somebody decides they're gonna write somebody's name in, so be it.
okay. That's what I thought, that's what I told them, but I just wanted to check.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other business from any of the select? Okay.
I don't think so, except for thank you for the numbers on the windows for the town hall.
It's just a budget item, it's not obviously, I mean, there's actually not 13, there's 14 windows if you look at the building.
Okay.
We have the one that's over top.
That's right, the one,
Right,
yeah.
right.
It's a lot of money, they're in tough shape, I don't think they've probably ever been worked on, to be honest. We had to wire them open the last time we got some to work again.
Yeah.
We were sagging, so, I don't know, you guys are gonna have to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
I would do 1 or 2 a year if I could suggest something and just spread it out over 10 years. You
Mm.
kill yourself.
Yeah, that's right. It's a big number. All right, thank you. Appreciate your getting all that. Michelle, do you have the form for adjournment for candidates? Could I
I hate
have
to
that?
say, Teresa, you just got here.
Already filled it out.
Super. All right, so I'm going to make a motion that we enter into non-public session per RSA 91-A:32C for matters which would discussed in public adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of this board.